What's going on, everybody? Jeff Holiday here, and as we have been looking at over the past month and a half or so, and other YouTubers have as well, there is a ton of people who have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to things like the coronavirus, aka COVID-19, or the ways in which we should either be maybe social distancing, or some of the woo-woo bullshit peddled cures that people are trying to promote. So today we have the dubious pleasure of having to tackle one such video that unfortunately has gotten a lot of traction based on the inane prattling of somebody who has no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Now, I can actually showcase for you exactly what happened when I realized that this video was made. It went a little bit something like this. Behold, the actual manifestation of internet cancer distilled down into video form. This is quite possibly the biggest pile of dog shit, apologia, and talking out of fucking turn I've ever seen in my life. And I used to be friends with this guy. Let's go.
While you acknowledge you're not a physician, you do promote these medicines extensively here. How do you not go so far as to be giving medical advice?
At the beginning of April, Donald Trump mentioned in one of his regular press briefings that the press have decided that they don't really like covering because they make him look good, that the drug hydroxychloroquine, and I'm not a physician of any sort, I had no idea what this was until this broke, and now I have to figure out what this is. But the media and the pundit class and a large chunk of public-facing scientists, academics, and doctors all decided no, because Trump had said something, we have to poke holes in it. And so they decided to go after it. This was the Guardian's response.
So, because they have to poke holes in it, not because these are researchers and scientists and medical professionals, and this might be something that they actually need to look into because it's their job. No, it's just... fuck.
He says it's a miracle cure, but don't believe the hype. There is no magic cure. It's based on a French study that apparently showed that a number of their patients got better when they were given this particular drug, and then Chinese research.
An incredibly small, deeply flawed study which we're about to look at, which is incredibly easy to find if anybody was willing to do even an ounce of fucking research. But I digress.
Just suggested actually it doesn't do anything. They did their tests over in China, and they found that there was no particular improvement, and so basically, The Guardian have decided to take the Chinese research as being canon.
And have you noticed also, he makes a point of not mentioning any of the other research that's been done on this. None at all. Just the Chinese research on it.
And the French research no longer exists. What should people do instead? The latest Chinese research suggests that using hydroxychloroquine is no better than more conventional coronavirus treatments, such as bed rest, antiviral drugs, and oxygen inhalation. There are about 50 different research efforts to find a vaccine, blah, 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 but the conclusion, there is no magic cure for the pandemic, no matter what Trump says. Because that's what this is about. This is about Trump having said something, and the desperate, eternal need to prove him 100% wrong on every subject.
Or and let me just try and like hammer through this, see if I can penetrate that enormous fucking melon of yours. Or this is about people who are dying from a virus, and people wanting to do the proper research to actually have an effective treatment, and the only evidence that this random thing that is a false hope that is being peddled to people not only has no basis in reality, but it also has more potential to harm, which I also will demonstrate, which is very easy to find if you do even an ounce of fucking research.
from ScienceAlert.com. By the way, a study of high-dose chloroquine for COVID-19 patients has been a study doing that has been stopped due to patient deaths. So some of the people have died, therefore the study is over. Therefore, you know that's bad, don't you? By the way, the doctor who pushed this, he's been cited by the feds. What's he been cited for? Well, the answer is mail fraud. So not relevant, but you have to go 3/4 of the way down this article to find that out.
It's not relevant, except when it is relevant so you can try and poke a hole for basically your political propaganda, which is all this fucking video is. There is nothing remotely justifying anything that you say in this, because objective reality does not agree with you. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. But what's really, really shitty is that either Carl here is so goddamn dumb that he actually believes this pretzel of logic he's twisted his brain into, or he intentionally assumes that his audience, you, if you're one of the people subscribed to him, are so dumb that you can't piece together what he's saying. And that is insulting.
Trump's hydroxychloroquine obsession is hurting non-COVID patients too.
Yes.
Why? Because this drug used to treat things like malaria and lupus, and apparently they're struggling to get it because it's being diverted for COVID-19. And look, here's another French study.
That's real, though. That's a problem. I mean, the reason why nobody dies from lupus is because we have the drugs to treat lupus. If we don't have the drugs to treat lupus, people who have lupus can die from kidney failure. No amount of arrogant smuckles are going to fucking save them. Just breeze past it? Okay. Why not?
The show actually it doesn't help. So nothing works. It's all hopeless. This has not been verified, and that appears to be the very crux of the argument.
Yeah.
We finished in about a year.
Why not just let the science speak for itself? Why are you promoting this drug?
I'm not. I'm just saying very simply, I'm not at all. I'm not. Look.
Simply, it hasn't been given their seal of approval. So obviously I looked this up on Wikipedia where...
Wow, whoa, hey, hang on, guys. Sargon actually did some research. He looked it up on Wikipedia. Holy shit. Guys, hang on. Just be ready. It's time for some big brain hours coming.
Where else are you going to start? First place, because I'm not an expert on this. So I just thought, right, okay, let's see what the side effects are. And the side effects for short-term treatment of acute malaria include abdominal cramps, diarrhea, heart problems, reduced appetite, headache, nausea, and vomiting. Right, so it's not fun, it makes you feel sick, but that's not fatal. So if you're suffering from a disease that looks like it might kill you, taking something that might make you feel sick to save your life seems like a worthwhile trade-off to me.
What the fuck kind of logical bullshit is this? None of that makes any sense. None of this makes any sense at all. We haven't been able to prove that it does anything, but just in case, have we tried injecting them with cough syrup? There's no proof that it could help anything, but we've never tried it. That's how science works, right? What the fuck?
I mean, there are apparently thousands of doctors around the world who are far less up their own asses about this and actually want to try and save some lives. Because this is one from Los Angeles. So this was reported in ABC7, right? Dr. Anthony Cardillo has been seeing some very promising results. Every patient I've prescribed it to has been very, very ill, and within 8 to 12 hours they were basically symptom-free. So clinically, I'm seeing a resolution.
Hang on. So on a lark, I decided, why don't I look up this Dr. Anthony Cardillo that Sargon here is using as a good example. A good example of somebody who's had some good luck with this. Well, he's got an abominable rating on healthgrades.com. Let's read a little bit about this happened in January. Visit the ER with a high fever and flu. I am a renal transplant patient, hence the need to go to ER. A person not in my condition would probably just need to go to urgent care. Was assigned this doctor, who was so nonchalant about my case and simply said to me, "You have the flu." When I told him they also found an infection, he just brushed it off and said it was minor and sent me home with antibiotics. 5 days later, my antibiotics were done and I was back with a high fever and miserable. Went to urgent care instead of the ER and received superior care. So angry and disappointed with this doctor who was extremely careless with my health. Ask for a second opinion. This is September 21st of last year. He runs a very crooked operation in his urgent care locations. They charge you a visit, and they charge your coverage double charge. I've been waiting for my refund as they promised me because they got paid by my son's coverage. To be exact, 4 months. No refund yet. And the Mr. Doctor here is not even man enough to reply to my emails. Crooks! And you can be sure I have a link for that in the description. Whereas this article that Sargon put up there, is there any? Nope, there's no citations. No citations on your video. Huh, that's weird.
But again, there's not the only doctor. One from New York, as reported in New York Post. Dr. Mohammud Alam, an infectious disease specialist affiliated with Plainview Hospital, said 81% of infected COVID patients he treated at 3 Long Island nursing homes recovered from the contagion. In a crisis, I realized I had to do something. If this was my dad, what would I do? And I'd do anything to help. He decided not to put a particular combination together because apparently there might be side effects with heart problems in patients who have got high risk at that for underlying issues. And so he replaced it with another, a different drug that doesn't have any complications with the heart, and apparently that, in his opinion, has worked as well.
Okay, you guys ready for this one? Okay, so the second doctor that he was citing, Mohammud Alam. So that's supposed to lend credence that this hydroxychloroquine is supposed to work, right? Sargon couldn't even actually look it up. Long Island doctor tries new twist for elderly COVID-19 patients. Now check this out. This is amazing. In this crisis, I realized I had to do something. I realized if this was my dad, what would I do? And I would do anything I could to help. He decided he could not apply the touted combination of the anti-malarial drug and the antibiotic because the side effects could be potentially lethal for his high-risk patients, many of whom had underlying heart diseases. I could not jeopardize these patients, Alam said. We knew from the FDA that azithromycin can cause fatal arrhythmia and abnormal heart failure that can lead to death. So what did he do? He tried a different approach with different drugs, and he got some good results with it. And that's fine. That's totally cool. But that's not what Sargon just said. That's not what Sargon is trying to sell to you.
So why are these being ignored from the mainstream media narrative? I mean, there are some public...
Why can't you appropriately report on them and literally do longer than 30 seconds worth of Google searching? Like, all of the links that I've been able to provide and the ones that we're going to look at here in a second, I was able to find within 5 minutes. Because I'm not trying to go for an agenda.
Because, as the Lancet say, a medical journal say, and again, they have been in opposition to Donald Trump promoting this on the basis that they have not yet confirmed the science. This will say, first, hydroxychloroquine is not expensive, readily available, and seems to be safe. There we go. That's a good enough reason to use it, is it not?
Except that since we have been using it, it has been drastically reducing the supply, and people who need it to stay alive are having trouble getting it. Now, I'm sure we can, like, change our manufacturing process so that we can, like, boost it back up, but that's not the point. The point is, why? Why would we trust Trump, first of all, and then why would we trust this study? And it's this study in specific. Obviously not the other things that you're citing, because as I have readily demonstrated, they're not the things that we should be putting our trust into, because either you don't know what you're fucking talking about, or the guy is a little sketchy. Little fucking sketchy. But we'll look at that study, this glorious French study, in just a second.
To try it, even if it's only just a placebo. However, clinical observations of the effects of this drug in patients with COVID-19 have not included critically ill patients who are receiving several other medications and have organ failure, such as whatever, which might influence drug metabolism and potentially increase the risk of adverse events. Yeah, but these people are surely dying. Like, okay, there might be adverse effects, yes, but there also might be a cure. It might work.
There might be a cure. There might be a cure. There might be. Look, I know that it might kill you, but it might not kill you. What the fuck? I do not remember him being this fucking stupid when I hung out with him. I do not know how somebody can actually lose that many IQ points in just a couple years. I don't know how this is possible. This is amazing.
So who knows? But second, the clinical data is far from convincing. The first study reported by blah, 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 indicated it might be effective, but has several limitations. Let me explain to you the limitations of this science. Yeah, sure, it might be scientifically wrong. It might not. But we don't know until further testing is done. And how long is that going to take? Well, a while, isn't it? I mean, they're hitting warp speed on this testing of this drug, but it could show in weeks whether it works. Yeah. Well, we've got hundreds of people dying every day in this country. Why don't we just give it to them and see if they don't die? Maybe they can survive for long enough for the clinical test to come in to show you whether it does or doesn't work. Who knows?
Try and stay with me on this one. I'm going to try and lead you down a path of logic, and I want to see if you can follow it. All right? So, the argument here is people get sick with COVID-19. People start doing very poorly on COVID-19. Maybe they're close to needing to be on a ventilator or not. Now, when somebody goes on a ventilator, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to die. If they're in the ICU, it doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to die. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of Britain, he ended up in the ICU. It was a close call, but he managed to recover. So nothing is a guarantee that somebody is going to die from COVID-19. They could not. There's no evidence that this one drug will help. In fact, there is evidence that this drug can harm. So you have somebody who could potentially die, and your choices are keep treating them with everything that is proven in biomedical science and hope that they can pull through, or you give them this drug that is known to cause some pretty heavy fucking side effects, is not known to actually help in any way whatsoever, and you choose to do that. Like, I don't think that this is a hard argument to grasp. I really don't. And the only way in which this argument seems to fail is if you have this belief that there is a point in time where you can say this person is just going to die from COVID-19 and we can't save them. That's not really the case. And if that's the case, that's got to be in such a tiny, minor little situation. And I strongly doubt, because we still don't have any evidence to the contrary, that this unproven drug is going to do anything for them. I'm sorry. But you're just wishfully thinking that this miracle drug is going to work. And it doesn't. Like, this bothers me because Carl doesn't even have the decency to have an even slightly difficult argument to go up against. Whereas, like, some of the anti-vaxxers I go up against, shit, people that are trying to convince, like, parents to bleach up their kids' assholes have better grasps of logic than this shit. But they don't have nearly the audience that he does. That's why this fucking bothers me. This is why this makes me fucking mad. Because this is idiotic. This is literally stupid, infecting, and leading stupid. This is so fucking just... Do you want to know what is destroying the fucking intelligence in our cultures? It's this garbage. It's this garbage. This vapid, blindly believing that some dude knows what the fuck he's talking about. This is what is fucking trashing shit. Now, because apparently it is my job that I have to do Sargon's job for him, as somebody who is reporting the news, apparently he is a little bit too blinded by his political ideology to look at things objectively. So, I got your back. We'll look at this, first and foremost, at what the problems are with the study, and then we're going to look at where we are today. Alright, so this, and again, citations are in the description. This is from Dr. Elizabeth Bick. She studies epidemics, among other things, and is a rather accomplished scientist. Thoughts on the Guatre et al. Paper about hydroxychloroquine and I hate saying that, were in treatment of COVID-19 infections. There's been a lot of excitement and even a presidential tweet about a recent paper from the lab of Didier Raoult, an infectious disease specialist in Marseille, France. But although the study may offer a glimmer of hope, there are some serious problems with the paper too. In the study, a total of 42 COVID-19 infected people admitted to hospitals in Marseille, Nice, Avignon, and Briançon were enrolled. Of these, 16 patients received the normal care controls, while 26 other patients were treated with hydroxychloroquine, a drug normally used to treat lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. Now, I really do need to point this out. 42 is a tiny fucking sample size. It's very, very hard in order to get a reasonable conclusion out of such a very tiny, tiny thing. Do we need more studies on it? Sure. Ethical issues. In the study, people who had COVID-19, a coronavirus infection, were treated with a drug designed to kill the malaria parasite. Which is odd, because a parasite is much larger than a virus, but still, studies like these where people are being treated with a drug that is approved to treat a different disease need to be approved by ethical and drug safety committees before they take place. Which it was not. How does a 14-day study fit between March 6th and March 16th? That also is a bit of a problem. The dates don't really quite line up on this. Although the text states that the patients were followed up for 14 days, the figures and tables only show data for 6 days. So maybe this timeline is okay, but it's very sloppily written. It's starting to kind of fall apart, even at just the basic fundamentals. Like, the structure in which they wrote this study is akin to a 6-year-old not being able to keep its crayon colors inside the lines, okay? So we're clear. Some other severe issues with this whole study, and again, the link for this is in the description. These people were not selected at random. There is no random factor there to try and maintain the integrity of the data. As well, it stated that there was a specific age cutoff for doing this treatment, but then it turns out some of these patients were younger than the minimum required. That's also a little strange. It also appears that the design of the study wasn't very good because they didn't try and get a more widespread or even spread amount of age groups between the control and the actual test. That's a bit of a problem. But there also apparently was there were some exclusion criteria for some of the people in the study that weren't supposed to get the certain treatment. Why were they even involved in this study? Were they that low on people to include? But then there's 6 missing people in this study. The study started with 26 patients in the HQ or HQ plus AZ group. Data from only 20 patients are given. Where did those other 6 people go? They just vanished. They just vanished into thin air. And nobody knows where they went. Some think that maybe they were kidnapped by a flying boy. Oh, and taken away to fight Captain Hook in the Never Never Land. Ooh! And to sum up on just a few of the other issues with this, and trust me, there are even more. There are even more. Look, I see bad studies all the time. All the time. This one is up there. This one is gonna, like, go in the Hall of Fame of bad studies. But the PCR results in which they were trying to use as their evidence for their results, well, there were just certain days where they just didn't include it. It just wasn't there. I'm just missing data. I mean, it happens, you know, of course. One might think maybe we should do it over, but that's quitter talk, right? And then even the way in which it was peer-reviewed was inherently flawed and completely and utterly botched. I mean, is anybody surprised at this point? I certainly am not. But look, let's really hammer this home, okay? I have an article here. It came out yesterday, and we're going to take a quick little look at it, and hopefully this will put all of this business to bed. And we won't have any more lazy, incapable of doing their own research whatsoever, talking head political hacks that should just be sticking to crying about college feminists from making any more goddamn videos on the topic, okay? Let's take a look at this. This comes from Fox 26 News. Researchers analyzed medical records of 368 male veterans hospitalized with confirmed coronavirus infection at Veterans Health Administration medical centers who died or were discharged by April 11th. About 28% who were given hydroxychloroquine plus usual care died, versus 11% of those getting routine care alone. About 22% of those getting the drug plus azithromycin died too, but the difference between that group and the usual care was not considered large enough to rule out other factors that could have affected survival. Hydroxychloroquine made no difference in the need for a breathing machine either. Researchers did not track side effects, but noted hints that the hydroxychloroquine might have damaged other organs. Uh-oh! The drug has long been known to have potentially serious side effects, including altering the heartbeat in a way that could lead to sudden death. Earlier this month, scientists in Brazil stopped part of a hydroxychloroquine study after heart rhythm problems developed in 1/4 of people given the higher of 2 doses being tested. Many doctors have been leery of the drug. Look, I don't know how to explain this in more simple terms for people who apparently routinely eat paint chips before they record their YouTube videos. But not only does this drug not help, it has incredibly bad side effects that could probably, and it's actually looking like, could lead to more deaths from a COVID-19 infected patient, is then making it harder for people who need this drug to survive to get it. And it's all based upon one thing. There's one reason why this was pushed. One reason. False hope. That's it. That's it. False hope. Why would anybody want to promote some false hope? Politics. That's why. Politics. There's a little bit of a conspiracy theory that a lot of this is based upon money because Trump has some sort of investment that also is an investment kind of tertiarily into this lab or whatever, but it's so very tiny, I don't think there's any water to it. I think it's something much more valuable. False hope. If it can seem like somebody is doing something, then at least people have something to grasp onto, and they're going to blame that guy a little bit less. Okay? That's why. But false hope is not good. There has never been a point where false hope is a good thing. It is not a positive thing, because false hope is a lie. If you can't give people real hope, then giving them false hope can be even worse. We're all grown-ups. We all can deal with this, like, with some degree of responsibility. But trying to make excuses for this kind of dog shit is the worst propaganda. Because at best, it's just going to fool a bunch of people into a bunch of stupid ideas, and at worst, it can get people fucking killed. Maybe think on that in the future. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today, guys. I am not thrilled about making this video. It's definitely not helping my quarantine sobriety, I'll tell you that much. I hope you are well. I hope your family is well. Hydroxychloroquine is bullshit. Sorry. I hope we can put this to bed now. I hope it's at least close to settled. Probably not. Oh well. From my family to yours, take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Ugh.